Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have yet another Mattel Jurassic World Dino Trackers figure to take a look at. We have another danger pack, as this time we've got the Piatnitzkysaurus. Now this is a species of dinosaur I am very unfamiliar with, honestly, and in fact I'm not even 100% positive if that's how you pronounce the name, because I'm so unfamiliar with it. But it's a pretty interesting looking figure on the part of Mattel. It's one that I honestly thought looked absolutely ridiculous when I had seen images of it. Having it here in person, I don't think it looks quite as bad, doesn't look quite as ridiculous, but it definitely still has a very weird look to it overall. But this is another one of those figures, again, one of those new danger packs that have been hitting Best Buys that I unfortunately don't have in my area, so I was lucky enough to have my good buddy Plush Boy Q pick one up for me and send it my way, so a huge thank you goes out to him yet again for helping me to acquire this figure. But as far as the packaging goes, it's pretty much your standard when it comes to the Dino Trackers line, and then here on the back you can again see a checklist of the figures in this wave. 3 of the 4 we have now officially reviewed here on the channel. It's weird though, looking at the Nothosaurus here, it almost looks like it has a brownish color, and I don't think that there is a difference between the wave this wave version or the previous wave version. I thought it was the same figure, but it kind of looks like it has a slightly different color to it here on the back. It might just be the coloration of the box. I don't think that it actually does, but that's very interesting, something I'm going to have to look into. But regardless, let's go ahead, pop this out of the box and check it out. So here is our Piatnitzkysaurus, and it's very interesting, I can definitely say that. The one thing that, is the biggest issue that I have with the figure, first of all, is how, exaggerated it is. They really took their artistic liberties and ran with them when it comes to this figure. One thing, though, that I'm actually noticing, which is actually really cool, is look how good the nails look on the foot. You might not be able to tell how nice it looks right now, but when we get a closer look, I'll definitely show that off. They look way better than you usually see when it comes to the nails on a dinosaur from Mattel. But the crests that it has going on here. Now, again, I did say I'm pretty unfamiliar with the species, so if you happen to know more about it, and you might have an idea as to why we have those crests up there, definitely let me know in the comments section, but I've never actually seen this dinosaur, portrayed with crests like that, so it's very interesting. We also have, of course, we've got quills running down the neck and kind of some kind of hanging skin or something here on the underside. That's something Mattel does often, so I'm kind of used to that, but we also almost have a slight small sail here along the back, and that again is something that I don't really recall seeing on this species before, which is, again, Mattel, I guess, taking their artistic liberties and running with it, or maybe it's just that I don't know enough about the species to really, know why they have those aspects to the figure here. But it does make for one very interesting, one very unique looking figure from Mattel, that is for sure. So let's jump to a closer look at it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt, one thing you can take notice to straight away is the impressive looking skin detail that we have for this. It has some really large, kind of rough and rugged looking scale detail, honestly through the entire body, but it's really abundant here in the face. You can see it all over the place. A lot of the Mattel figures, you'll see a lot more finer texturing, actually more, if we can open the jaw here. Boy, that jaw's a little hard to open. There we go. You usually see skin texture similar to what we see here on the lower jaw with those smaller scales, but this one has much larger, kind of bumpier scales through most of the head sculpt and most of the body, honestly. So it's very interesting to see, a very unique, very different style, very different take on the skin texture of a dinosaur here on this one. You can see the nostrils are sculpted out here at the tip of the snout. We primarily have a greenish tone for the body. We also have some orangish tones there, kind of splotching around the eye and running up into the palate and everything. And then we, of course, have this crest that we were just speaking of before. Very weird looking crest on the dinosaur. The orangish tone's more like a red-orange running through here. We have a lighter variation of kind of like an orange here up in the crest, and it looks interesting to say the least. We also have some fairly decent looking detailing, some fairly decent texturing up there. You can see the eye is painted with a yellow, given a black pupil, and of course we have an alternate tone of color here for the lower jaw, which you've probably already established on your own. We do also have some fairly decently painted teeth with kind of a yellowish tone, but I will say the yellow is a little thin in certain spots, because in some of the teeth you can actually see the greenish tone of the body kind of creeping through. So, you can obviously see the paint was a little bit light on the application of that area. But you can see on the inside of the mouth, we have a nice pinkish tone, really nicely textured tongue in there, beautiful gloss coat. I don't expect there to be coloration. Yeah, I didn't think so. On the upper side of the inside of the mouth, you don't normally get that when it comes to danger packs. The jaw does articulate pretty nicely. It has kind of an interesting shape to it, but it does stay pretty much exactly wherever you put it. As you begin to lead back here into the neck region, you again have those quills picking up like we were just speaking of. And then you also have an alternate shade of green that kind of stripes and designs down, which does look really cool, does play off of the darker green body color quite nicely. The lighter tone of the lower jaw, though, doesn't run down any further than the lower jaw. You don't see it lead down into the throat or anything at all. We do have kind of, again, like some hanging skin here. You can even see the scale detail on that looks fantastic. But up here, you continue to see, again, that kind of rough and rugged looking skin textured look to the figure. Like I was talking about earlier, there's definitely a very, very different look to the skin texture of this figure. We also have nicely articulated neck, of course. You can go up and down, and then you can also turn it. Give it a nice little swivel all the way around if you choose to, but that allows some extra posability with your figure. And then as you lead down a little bit further, you can see that the scales and the skin texture, again, looks huge, like really, really big scales through the course of the figure. You see really large ones popping up here and leading down into the arm, and you can see some nice muscle definition there on the arm, nice scoots down the fingers. The hands are absolutely huge for some reason, but they are kind of like, I would say, classic Mattel at this point, pretty much. You can see the fingernails as well are sculpted out. Again, no nail paint usually for your danger packs. Exactly the same case for this one. We have that green continuing, as far as that lighter green, continuing to stripe down the course of the body as we lead down. And then we have this area that, again, is almost like sail-like, or I don't know what exactly we're looking at here along the back of the dinosaur, but very interesting as far as their take on Piatnitzkysaurus. And then as you lead down here again into the thigh, you can see the muscle definition. You can again see the very interesting, very rough and rugged looking skin texture to this dinosaur. You've got the knee right there, you've got the calf muscle moving down, and then as you lead down into the foot sculpt, you have a nice long foot sculpt with some scoots down the toes. And this is the area I was talking about. Look at, actually specifically, that one looks pretty good too, but like, look at how good the nails look on this. I don't know if it's just me, but those nails look better than your average Mattel toenails do. They look almost like they could potentially be sharp, which I really, really like. Actually, this one does look really good as well. So that's definitely a plus for the figure. We do have dew claws on it as well, and we continue to have that kind of rough and rugged looking. It's the only way I can really decide to term it, skin texture as you move down into the foot and down into the toes. But as we lead back up, we again head out into the tail, and at this point we don't have any more of that light green. We don't really have any other coloration at all aside from the primary body color, and we lead out. We have a nice curve to the tail and some more of those kind of bumpier scales, some more of that very interesting looking skin texture. The tail, of course, is too short. We always have that when it comes to Mattel. I really wish they would give us, more accurately proportioned dinosaurs, but as a whole, I would say that the proportions of this dinosaur are off severely. Like, the feet are too big, the head's too big, the hands are too big, the tail's too short. We have a lot going on as far as that goes, but again, I try not to really judge Mattel figures on accuracy because they're never really accurate, and they usually have their artistic liberties flowing, as we can see with this one, when it comes to Mattel figures, so don't really try to base them too much on accuracy. But you can see again that we have lots of really nice looking detailing here along the underside of the figure, and then pretty much the same thing going on over here. Let's get a look at the eye paint here. It's definitely sloppy. It's sloppy on this side, better on the opposing side, really quite sloppy actually on this side, which is sad to see that we're so far into the Mattel line, we still have that quality control issue going on with the eyes. But as you lead back here, you can see the only other real big difference you're going to see on this side would be the legs in different positions. The legs are, obviously, this leg is trailing compared to the other leg, which is leading. And we do, of course, have articulated arms. We already went over the jaw and neck articulation. We also have articulated legs, forward and back. The legs don't really move out away from the body. No, didn't expect that on a danger pack. And then you have a swivel tail. That's really about it as far as articulation goes. And let's go ahead and pull this out for anyone that wants to add this to their collection. There you go. But even though, again, it's definitely a wacky, kind of goofy-looking figure, it actually looks a little better in person than I was expecting it to. Very, very exaggerated, very interesting take on this species, but since I don't have any figures of this species in my collection at all, I'm really quite psyched to finally have one. Now, as far as the size goes, it's pretty much exactly as you would expect it to be at about 7.5 inches or 19 centimeters, which I think was exactly the same measurement for the recent Piatnitzkysaurus we had reviewed. But height-wise, we're looking at about 3 3/4 inches or around 9.5 centimeters, which I think is a little bit taller. And actually, to show you, we're going to bring the Piatnitzkysaurus in here next to our Piatnitzkysaurus. So if we get the head in a more, no, maybe it was all right there. Yeah, so you can see it's definitely slightly taller. Move them a little bit better here to the center. You see it's definitely slightly taller, and they overall are a very, very similar size, as most dinosaurs like this usually are when it comes to the danger pack size range. Definitely a lot thicker in the head region, though, is the Piatnitzkysaurus. But for another size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our Mattel Piatnitzkysaurus. And you can see again, it's definitely a pretty much common size range for Mattel when it comes to the danger packs. It's exactly as you would expect it to be. And then for one final comparison, because I don't feel like we really need very many when it comes to different size ranges of Mattel. Like usually when it comes to a size range of a danger pack, they're usually all right there in the same size range, or like Strike Attack is usually right there all in the same similar size range. So you don't really need too many comparisons, especially when it comes to the danger packs. So hopefully next to the Raptor, if you don't have any of the other figures we had taken a look at, this might help to give you an idea of the size. So this brand new Mattel Jurassic World Dino Trackers Danger Pack Piatnitzkysaurus is pretty cool, honestly. I actually like him. He's definitely more appealing in person than I was expecting him to be. The biggest downside, I think, for the figure are those weird crests. I think if we just ditched those crests, the figure as a whole would look a lot cooler. But the crests are just weird looking. They're out of place. And again, unless there is something that has to do with this dinosaur that does include those crests, I personally have no idea why they're on there. But like I said earlier, I am no professional when it comes to this species, and I'm actually very unfamiliar with it overall. So it may have had those crests. I have no idea. But as a whole, again, the sculpt is really nicely detailed, very, very vibrant detail, and very impressive overall. The skin texture looks very intriguing. It's for sure different than you see often on Mattel dinosaurs like this, and very rough and rugged looking skin texture, kind of larger scaling, quite unique as a whole. But it is also extremely crisp, extremely vibrant, and there is just detail for days on this figure. Exceptionally well done when it comes to how nice the detail actually looks. The paint job as well is pretty cool, and even though we again have the coloration that pretty much cuts off in the hip region, there is quite a bit of color on this, as we have the coloration there for the crests. We also have that kind of like red-orange there in the face. You have the primary green, you have a little bit of coloration there for the lower jaw, and you also have that lighter green that runs along the body. So there's a good bit of color included on this one, even though it doesn't run out onto the tail, and of course would look better if it did. It still doesn't look bad by any means. We don't have painted nails or anything like that, but again, Danger Pack don't usually have that kind of stuff for these figures, and there's no action feature or anything, but there is some nice articulation, and it all works very smoothly. So if you are interested in picking this up, make sure you head to your local Best Buy, and again, like I said in the Piatnitzkysaurus review, I will include a link in the description to where you can purchase, Danger Packs on Best Buy, and it claims to be this wave, but I've heard of other people ordering and getting the previous waves and stuff, so it's kind of like a gamble if you do place an order through the Best Buy website, but your best bet would probably be to just go search them out in store, so then you actually know what you are getting. One way or another, it's still kind of a cool figure, so if you are interested, make sure you grab it when you see it, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.